It began the way so many nightmares begin, quietly, without warning, under the illusion of safety. The night was warm, the kind of sticky summer evening where the air outside clung to your skin and the hum of cicadas blurred with the distant barking of dogs. Inside Emily's room, the world felt smaller, simpler, almost immune to the chaos outside. Megan and Emily were sprawled across the bed, half buried in pillows, laughing at memes on Emily's phone. They had been inseparable since the 3rd grade, 2 halves of a single orbit. Teachers used to joke that they should be graded as one student. Their parents teased them about telepathic friendship because one rarely spoke without the other finishing the thought. That night was supposed to be no different. Snacks littered the desk, the faint glow of fairy lights painted the walls with soft gold, and the blue rectangle of Emily's laptop screen glowed like a portal into infinite distractions. They scrolled, they whispered, they laughed in the hushed, conspiratorial tones of teenagers who believed the night belonged to them. Then Megan noticed the message. It wasn't the kind of message that immediately screamed danger. In fact, it was almost boring in its simplicity. A chat request from a user with a plain username, Beast. No numbers, no emojis, no try-hard edginess. Just that single word, sitting there, waiting for someone to notice. Megan clicked before Emily could stop her. The first line was short, "You're still awake?" Megan smirked. "Creepy much?" she whispered, tilting the screen so Emily could see. But curiosity won, as it usually did with Megan. She typed back a casual reply, the way you do when you don't really take something seriously. The conversation started harmlessly enough. He wrote in clipped, polite sentences, asking about her night, whether she was bored, if she liked music. His tone was disarmingly ordinary, almost shy. He told her he had trouble sleeping, that he wandered the internet at odd hours, looking for someone who felt as restless as he did. Emily, ever the cautious one, rolled her eyes. It's probably some middle-aged loser pretending to be 17. Just block him. But Megan didn't. There was something about the way Beast wrote. His messages weren't crude or pushy. They weren't like the spammy advances other girls sometimes got online. His words were measured, laced with a strange kind of melancholy. "Most people don't understand loneliness," he typed once. "But you look like the kind of person who might." That line caught Megan off guard. She laughed it off in front of Emily, but she kept typing. She asked him questions. She wanted to know why he felt lonely, where he lived, and what music he listened to. Hours slipped by. The clock crept past midnight. By the time the chat ended, Emily was half asleep, and Megan was hunched over the keyboard, locked into a dialogue with a stranger whose face she couldn't imagine. From that night forward, things changed. At first, it was subtle. Megan would excuse herself during lunch to check her phone. She'd linger online late into the night, whispering into the glow of her screen while Emily drifted off. Beast became a secret she carried like a treasure, tucked into the folds of her daily routine. She told Emily bits and pieces, but never everything. The more he shared, the more Megan leaned in. He confessed that he hated crowds, that he hadn't spoken to anyone face-to-face in weeks. He wrote about the suffocating silence of his room, the way the walls seemed to press closer at night. And Megan, empathetic, soft-hearted Megan, responded with comfort. She told him jokes. She listened. She reassured him that he wasn't alone. But Beast wasn't satisfied with reassurance. One night, as rain pelted against Emily's window, Beast's messages turned heavier. "You're different," he wrote. "You actually listen. No one else does. You're the only one who understands me. Don't tell anyone about me. Promise?" The words glowed on the screen, stark and demanding. Megan hesitated, then typed back, "I promise." She smiled faintly, as though she'd just accepted a secret mission. Emily, already asleep beside her, never saw the exchange. From then on, Beast's grip tightened. His questions grew more personal. "Where do you go after school? Do you ever sneak out? Would you tell me if you did?" His words seemed harmless enough, but there was a weight behind them, a hunger disguised as vulnerability. Megan didn't recognize it. Or maybe she did, but she didn't care. Being needed, being seen, was intoxicating. And Beast knew exactly how to feed that feeling. Nights blurred into weeks. By the end of July, Emily began to notice a shift. Megan wasn't laughing as much. She was distracted, her eyes darting to her phone every few seconds, her replies clipped and distant. When Emily asked about it, Megan brushed it off. "It's nothing. Just a friend online." You wouldn't get it. That phrase, "you wouldn't get it," was the first crack in their bond. But the real fracture came later, when Beast said something that Emily never heard, but Megan could never forget. "I don't trust anyone else. Please don't leave me. Don't tell anyone. You're all I have." The words weren't a request. They were a chain. And Megan, without realizing, had already slipped it around her neck. The morning Megan disappeared, nothing felt extraordinary. That was the cruelest part. It wasn't stormy or ominous. It was bright, a warm Saturday that carried the hum of lawnmowers and the scent of cut grass through the neighborhood. Emily remembered it in fragments, the sharp crack of toast from breakfast, Megan's laughter echoing in the kitchen, the way her hair caught sunlight as she tied it into a ponytail. There was no clue, no cinematic foreshadowing. Just normality, plain and deceitful. By noon, they were sprawled across Emily's front porch, sipping sodas and making idle plans for the afternoon. Megan had been restless all morning, checking her phone more often than usual. Her thumbs moved with a nervous rhythm, typing, deleting, typing again. Emily teased her about being addicted to her mystery boyfriend, but Megan only smiled faintly and didn't reply. At 12:47 p.m., Megan stood abruptly. "I'll be right back," she said, brushing off her jeans. 5 minutes, tops. She never returned. At first, Emily wasn't worried. Megan had always been impulsive. Maybe she'd gone to grab something from her house a few blocks away. Maybe she ducked inside to take a call. But the minutes stretched thin, heavy with unease. Emily called her phone. No answer. She texted. The typing dots never appeared. By the time the sun dipped, worry had crystallized into panic. Emily retraced Megan's steps, her sneakers pounding against the cracked sidewalks, scanning every street corner as though Megan might materialize if she looked hard enough. But every block was empty. When night fell, Megan's parents called the police. Statements were taken. Photos were handed over. The officers spoke in their careful, measured tones, promising they would look into it. But Emily saw the doubt in their eyes. Teenagers disappear all the time, they seemed to say. She'll come back. But Emily knew better. She turned to the only place that made sense, Megan's messages. Emily logged into her friend's laptop, the one Megan had left behind in her rush. The chat history was there, lines of dialogue with Beast stretching back weeks. Emily scrolled furiously, her heart pounding with every word. What had seemed like harmless loneliness at first had transformed into something suffocating. His messages grew sharper, needier, more desperate. "Where are you going? Don't leave me hanging. You said I could trust you. I need to see you." The last message had been sent just minutes before Megan vanished. "I'm waiting. Don't be late." Emily's stomach twisted. Waiting where? Her search grew obsessive. She tore through Megan's files, her email, and her notes app. She found screenshots, half-written drafts of replies Megan had never sent, fragments of sentences that chilled her. "I'm not sure I can. What if Emily finds out?" "Okay, but only for a little while." The police dismissed it when Emily tried to show them. "Teenagers make online friends all the time," one officer said, his voice laced with exhaustion. "There's no proof this has anything to do with her disappearance." But Emily kept digging. It was 3 days later when she stumbled upon the camera. The park was small, a scraggly patch of grass and trees where Megan and Emily had spent countless afternoons. Emily had gone there instinctively, pacing the paths, whispering Megan's name like a prayer. And then she saw it, the glint of metal half buried in the dirt beneath an old oak tree. She knelt, clawing at the soil with trembling hands until she unearthed the device, an old handheld camcorder, its casing scratched and dented. Her breath hitched. Why would there be a camera hidden here, of all places? At home, she connected it to her laptop. The files loaded slowly, each one marked with a date that aligned perfectly with Megan's disappearance. Emily clicked the first. The video was grainy, the audio distorted, but Megan's face was unmistakable. She sat in a dimly lit room, her eyes wide and wet with tears. She said something Emily couldn't make out, her voice muffled by static. Then she screamed, high, raw, and desperate. The sound cut abruptly, replaced by silence. Emily clicked another file, then another. Each clip was worse than the last. Megan pleading, Megan sobbing, Megan curled into herself like a child. Then, finally, Megan stared blankly at the lens, her face pale and hollow, her lips moving soundlessly. Emily slammed the laptop shut, her heart rattling in her chest. The police called it a hoax when she brought them the footage. Anyone can fake a video, they told her. But Emily had seen the truth in Megan's eyes. This wasn't staged. This was real. That night, she lay awake, the echoes of Megan's screams replaying endlessly in her mind. And though she didn't know it yet, the camera was only the first breadcrumb in a trail leading into darkness far deeper than she could imagine. Rachel barely slept after the videos. Every time she closed her eyes, the flickering images of Lily's hollow stare would claw their way back into her mind. She would jolt awake, drenched in sweat, her heart racing like she had been running for her life. By the third night, exhaustion had worn her down, and she started skipping school just to sit at her desk, staring at the silent laptop, dreading the moment she might gather the courage to click the remaining files. Then the emails began. It was just after 2:13 a.m. when Rachel's phone vibrated. She groggily reached for it, thinking it was a spam notification. But the subject line made her freeze. I have her. The sender was a blacked-out email address, no name, no numbers, just a blank field. She opened it, her fingers trembling. There was only a single attachment, a photo. Rachel's stomach turned. The picture was of Lily, sitting inside what looked like a large rusted barrel. Her arms were bound behind her back, duct tape covering her mouth. Her eyes were wide, wet with tears. The background was too dark to make out, except for a faint chalk mark on the wall behind her, a strange symbol like a circle intersected by jagged lines. Rachel dropped the phone, her breath coming in sharp gasps. Her first instinct was to run to her parents' room, to show them everything. But then the phone buzzed again. Another email. This one contained no photo, just a line of text. Tell anyone, and she dies. Rachel felt the room tilt. Her legs buckled, and she slid to the floor, clutching the phone to her chest. Her rational mind screamed at her to call the police anyway, but the terror in Lily's eyes in that photo burned too deep. Whoever had sent this wasn't bluffing. The emails didn't stop. They came every night, always around the same time, between 2 and 3 a.m. Each one carried a different photo or message. One showed Lily standing in that same concrete room, her hair messier, her eyes emptier. Another showed a close-up of her hand pressed against the lens, as though she were begging Rachel directly to pull her out of whatever nightmare she was trapped in. And then came the third night's message. You were chosen because she trusted you. Now you're responsible. Rachel's stomach sank deeper with every word. She couldn't figure out how they had her email, how they knew about her. It was as if the moment she'd opened those video files, she had become part of something much larger, something inescapable. The fourth email was the worst. It came with no subject line, no message body, just an attachment. She hesitated for nearly 15 minutes, her thumb hovering over the screen. When she finally opened it, she nearly screamed. It was her mother. Not a live photo, but a candid shot clearly taken inside their house. Her mom was in the kitchen, pouring coffee, completely unaware. The image was grainy, but it was undeniably real. The implication was clear. They weren't just watching Lily. They were watching her. Rachel's world cracked open. She tore through the house in the dead of night, checking locks, shutting windows, and turning on every light. Her parents woke to find her shaking and hysterical, but she lied, saying she had a nightmare. She couldn't tell them the truth, not with those warnings hanging over her head. By the end of the week, her inbox was flooded. The subject lines read like taunts. Closer than you think. Don't pretend you can sleep. She screams for you. Each email eroded her sanity further. She started carrying her laptop everywhere, terrified she might miss something crucial. She kept her phone under her pillow at night, jumping at every vibration. Her grades slipped, her appetite vanished, and her parents whispered in worried tones when they thought she wasn't listening. The breaking point came when an email arrived with an attached video instead of a photo. Rachel's hands shook as she clicked it open. The footage was dim, but Lily was visible in the center of the frame, sitting in that same bare room. This time, she wasn't bound. She was rocking back and forth, muttering something under her breath. Rachel turned the volume up until it hurt her ears, trying to catch the words. Slowly, they formed into a chilling chant. He watches. He waits. He comes when the lights go out. Rachel's stomach twisted violently. Her best friend wasn't just terrified, she was being broken, reshaped into something else. Then, for the first time, Rachel heard something new, the cameraman breathing. Slow, deep, deliberate. Whoever was filming wanted her to hear it, wanted her to know he was there. The screen cut to static, then a single line of text appeared in white letters. You can trade places if you want. Rachel slammed the laptop shut, but it was too late. The words burned into her mind like fire. Trade places. The thought lodged in her chest, twisted and cruel. Was that the endgame? Was this entire nightmare designed to force her into making a choice? Her inbox pinged again. Another message. She couldn't bring herself to open it. Not yet. Not with her heart hammering and her throat closing like she was drowning. But deep down, she knew she would. She always would. Because whatever this was, it wasn't finished. And now, she wasn't just a bystander. She was inside the game. Detective Harper's office had become a war zone of evidence, walls plastered with photographs, usernames scrawled across sticky notes, red string tangling like veins across maps of Hollow Creek and beyond. Every symbol, every fragment of a corrupted video or cryptic email had been cataloged, analyzed, and yet somehow the pieces refused to form a coherent whole. The hours bled together. The cold blue light of computer screens painted Harper's face in sharp, haunted angles, making the shadows seem almost alive. As he scrolled through dark web links late into the night, a sense of suffocating dread pressed down on him. Some pages flickered with images of masked figures performing strange rituals in abandoned warehouses, blurred faces caught mid-gesture, as if frozen by some malevolent magic. Each image was grainy, distorted, but the intent behind them was unmistakable, a warning, a glimpse of the chaos that had already begun to take hold. Meanwhile, Megan herself had been pulled deeper into a world she could barely comprehend. She sat hunched over in her small room, laptop open, staring at sequences of text and symbols that seemed to twist and writhe across the screen, almost alive. Messages appeared with alarming frequency, each one more cryptic than the last, hinting at secrets hidden in plain sight and threatening consequences if she failed to decipher them. The once familiar digital world had transformed into a labyrinth of terror. Every click, every link, every scroll was a step further into darkness. Outside, the streets of Hollow Creek grew eerily silent as if the town itself held its breath. Harper's instincts screamed that Megan's ordeal was no longer about simple abduction. It was an initiation into something older, something orchestrated with a terrifying patience. As he pieced together the digital breadcrumbs, he realized the perpetrator was always one step ahead, leaving riddles and codes meant to confuse, distract, and terrify. The detective, exhausted yet relentless, could feel the weight of inevitability pressing in. If Megan wasn't found soon, she might slip entirely into the shadows that had claimed so many before her. And in those shadows, it was not only her life at stake, but the fragile sense of security that the town had clung to, now cracking under the presence of a calculated and almost ritualistic evil. The discovery came in the form of a video file, another corrupted, almost unreadable digital fragment, but Harper felt the chill of finality as he clicked play. Megan's face appeared on the screen, pale and strained, illuminated only by the faint glow of a nearby monitor. Her eyes, wide and lifeless, met the camera in a gaze that seemed to pierce through the digital barrier, whispering words so faint they barely registered. "Help, they're here." "I can't." The sound glitched and faltered, interspersed with static that made the scene feel both intimate and impossibly distant. Harper's hand shook as the screen suddenly flickered red, a single word appearing in jagged, corrupted text: "Run." His pulse quickened, the room felt impossibly cold. Around him, hundreds of messages began to flood the inbox, all sent from an account bearing his own name, each one more surreal and threatening than the last. It became clear that the predator had not only captured Megan but had also infiltrated every layer of their digital lives, turning their reality into a maze of paranoia. The detective's mind raced as he watched the final frames, a room empty except for Megan, shadows moving just beyond the edge of the camera, faint and disturbing shapes that seemed almost human. The tape ended abruptly, the screen going black, leaving behind only the echo of her whisper and the unnerving sensation that someone, or something, was watching him even now. Harper knew, with a sinking certainty, that this was no longer a case that could be solved with evidence alone. It demanded courage, intuition, and a willingness to confront a darkness that defied comprehension. The town of Hollow Creek had become a stage for a horrifying game, and somewhere in the depths, Megan's fate was tied irrevocably to the twisted mind orchestrating it. The final tape was not just proof, it was a warning, a challenge, and a glimpse of the abyss waiting for anyone foolish enough to follow the clues too closely. Harper realized that every decision from this moment onward could mean the difference between salvation and complete obliteration, and the quiet, suffocating realization settled over him. The line between hunter and hunted had dissolved, and now only the bravest, or most desperate, could hope to survive the truth of what lay hidden in the darkness.
But something about this story doesn't feel finished. What do you think happened? Leave your theory in the comments. And if this story gave you chills, wait until tomorrow. Because every single day, we uncover real stories darker than fiction. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more.